These are the top 10 most haunted prisons you don't want to be locked in. I'm your host Andrew, and let's get right into this. At number 10 spot, we have Akershus Fortress. Located in Oslo, Norway, is a 700-year-old medieval castle that has stood strong and secured the city from foreign invaders. However, just because it managed to keep dangers away doesn't mean that there weren't a whole lot of issues within. Although the fortress acted as a military base and temporary office for the Prime Minister, for many years it served as a prison. There was even a section known as the slavery, because here prisoners could be rented out for work in the city. And to make matters worse, not only did the prisoners go through slavery, but their sentences involved hard labor, with the prison notorious for their use of chains and prisoner isolation techniques. Eventually the place closed down in 1950, but there are some who say that the spirits of former prisoners are still locked away here. Whispers and scratching can be heard along the hallways, and guards have reported weird sensations such as like being pushed by someone who wasn't there. At a number 9 spot, we have Shrewsbury Prison. The Shrewsbury Prison in Shropshire is one of the oldest prisons in the UK, and in addition to its dark history, it was given that this jail is one of the most haunted one in the UK as well. This prison opened all the way back in 1793 and remained open until 2013, meaning 2 centuries of people went through this place. During the Victorian period, large audience would assemble to see public executions, some of which were people who had just been given the death penalty for crimes like stealing bread. Apart from that, this prison went through many public executions, torturing, and many people taking their own lives. Visitors to the prison claim that a shadow man lurks in the prison's A-wing. It's said that he's a former police officer, since he is known to scare people away from that wing. At a number 8 spot, we have Lake County Jail. Located in Crown Point, Indiana, is the infamous Lake County Jail. In 1878, the building started off as just the sheriff's house, but eventually in the early 1900s, it went through expansions to create an additional jailhouse right beside of it. It didn't take long before the jail took in some of America's most notorious criminals. The most famous criminal that was kept at this jail was American gangster John Dillinger. Before, many believed that the prison was inescapable, but on March 3rd, 1934, John proved everyone wrong. He supposedly crafted a firearm made out of wood and convinced a jail employee to lock up 14 jailers, all while using this makeshift gun. Then he, alongside 3 other people, escaped using a stolen cop car. However, only a few months later, John was found and executed by FBI agents. Ever since, the jail has been showcasing paranormal activity, with blame towards John. Many claim to see his spirit walking around the building as if he's still reliving his days of escaping, but others have claimed that he has openly grabbed them, and before the person could react, his spirit just disappears. At our number 7 spot, we have Security Prison 21. In the 1970s, this former high school was converted into the notorious S21 prison by the Khmer regime, where an estimated 20,000 prisoners were executed. Yes, I said 20,000. Nowadays, the souls of the victims who were detained, starved, tortured, and executed are said to be roaming the S21 hall, which is now named the Tuol Sleng Genocide Museum. Many unusual incidents have been reported here, including the guards who hear moaning and chains rattling in the middle of the night. Today, the school or prison has been transformed into a museum where the ghosts of the deceased are still said to haunt it. Of the 20,000 prisoners that experienced the horrors of this place, only approximately 6 to 12 are rumored to have survived the genocide. The museum employees even leave food out for the ghosts during their lunch breaks. They say that if they don't leave an offering, they can't enjoy their lunches in peace due to loud noises and other ghostly activities. At our number 6 spot, we have Old Charleston Jail. In Charleston, South Carolina, the Old Charleston Jail dates back to 1802 and hasn't changed much over the years. Notable prisoners of this jail include Denmark Vesey, who was arrested for planning a slave uprising, and Lavinia Fisher, the country's first female serial killer. Pirates and Union soldiers were also held captive here, and many locals believe the spirits and souls of the incarcerated continue to reside behind these bars. The first sightings came when the jail was undergoing renovations back in 2000. This is when the prison was sealed off for months to avoid lead paint contamination, but when they returned back inside, they discovered many human hand and footprints all over the place. If you decide to visit the prison, the ghosts here are very touchy, and chances are you'll be tugged by an unseeable force.
Every time I walked in this room, we give him. What was that? Why do you remain in this jail?
In the hump of our list, we have the Wyoming Territorial Prison. The Wyoming Territorial Prison in the city of Laramie opened its doors in 1873, and over its time of being active, it would have many problems with overcrowding, causing many prisoners to be bunched together in already terrible living conditions. This prison is not like the other typical haunted prisons. It didn't have horrific executions, nor did it have riots or mistreatment. Instead, this prison is haunted due to a select few spirits that chose to stick around here for whatever reason. The spirit is believed to be that of Julius Greenwelch, who was an inmate in the 1890s. He was sent there because he murdered his wife after finding her at his favorite brothel. During his days at the prison, he became so notorious for his talent in cigar rolling that he was even allowed to set up a cigar making business while behind bars. However, in a few years, he would pass away from a heart attack, causing his business to never grow the way he envisioned. Ever since, the prison has parts of it that smell of cigar smoke, with the guards and locals claiming the smell is the spirit of Julius. At a number 4 spot, we have the Eastern State Penitentiary. Once the world's most expensive prison, from 1829, this Philadelphia facility boasted grand architecture, modern luxuries, and notorious inmates, including Al Capone. One of the first penitentiaries ever built, it combined impressive design and strict discipline to inspire regret and reform in the hearts of convicts. Since its closure in 1971, the complex has crumbled into the mass of deteriorating cell blocks, which are now recognized as a National Historic Landmark. Eastern State Penitentiary is now open to visitors year-round, and if you decide to visit here, there are some ghostly things that you might encounter. At number 3 spot, we have the Tennessee State Prison. Built in 1898, this castle-looking prison was open for almost an entire century, and during its time, it housed many of America's most notorious criminals. It was a maximum security facility, but it was also notorious for their poor living conditions and riots. For example, in 1902, a group of 17 prisoners would break out of their cells and start a riot within the jail, with one of the prisoners being murdered and 2 of the 17 prisoners actually escaping the prison. Then in 1939, another jailbreak occurred, with the prisoners setting fire to some areas of the prison, including the dining room, which ended up killing a few more workers and other prisoners. Then during 1975 to 1985, there were countless other riots and jailbreaks within the prison. People who have previously visited the old Tennessee State Prison have described what they think to be the sounds of cell bars clanking, spine-chilling cries, and footsteps that seem to echo throughout the halls, which makes it one of the spookiest sights in all of Tennessee. At number 2 spot, with the Napier Prison. Located in Napier Hill, New Zealand, is the Napier Prison. Built in 1862, this prison lasted over 130 years until it eventually closed down in 1993. This prison was once used as an orphanage and then a psychiatric hospital, so it's really no surprise that this place is considered one of the most haunted places in all of New Zealand. During the time it was active, this place was the last place many people saw in their lives because many death sentences were done inside of the prison. The most notorious of the death sentences was the one given to Roland Edwards. He was a mass murderer who was sentenced to death in the gallows, but ever since, he is said to haunt the prison, with a special appearance on the anniversary of his death. At number 1 spot, we have the Wyoming Frontier Prison. Located in Rawlins, Wyoming, the Wyoming Frontier Prison has a reputation of being one of the toughest prisons in the Wild West. Opened in 1901, it housed some of the most violent inmates, featured a dungeon, botched executions, and was known for rampant violence. Now a museum, employees and visitors alike have reported ghostly encounters. There have been apparitions spotted in the cell blocks and reports of a malevolent spirit in the dungeon who has threatened visitors. The prison is so notorious that it was featured on the episode of Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures, and here ghost hunters have captured orbs on cameras which are said to be spirits. The museum offers haunted Halloween night tours if you want a ghostly encounter of your own. Well, these are the top 10 most haunted prisons you don't want to be locked in. Leave your thoughts and recommendations in the comment section below. I'm your host Andrew, and I hope you guys have a scary day.